we all go to the doctor, we all go to the emergency room, and we've all had to fill out those forms with our personal information, our name, or our address, our social security number, and things like that. But have we ever really thought about what happens to that information once we've handed that over? Probably not. At least for me, I know the one thing I'm thinking about is how much is this visit going to cost me? We do everything online. We shop, we pay bills, we file our taxes. All of our personal information is online. With the digital the digital age is increasing with social media, and it does make it more convenient for us, individually, stay in contact with family, friends, but it also helps us professionally, with marketing or just any kind of, getting your name out there for other people to see. What I'm going to do, or what I'm trying to do, is, despite the frequency that information is shared online, that there are steps being taken to make sure that your information is safe and kept private. The healthcare industry was the most targeted sector for cyber attacks in 2015, with over 100 million medical records compromised. The medical records can be used by threat actors or hackers to conduct insurance fraud, identity theft, and even extort victims. Unlike credit cards and your financial information, medical information can be used more than once, and it cannot be easily canceled with just a phone call. It can be used over and over again. And also, health records are more valuable than credit card numbers on the black market, nearly 20 times more valuable. Our medical facilities are also increasing the use of electronic health records, EHRs. We walk into a doctor's office and everybody's got a computer in the room itself or in the emergency room. Everybody's getting away more and more from the paper files. With the increase in the speed of the digital transition, the security of those records has fallen behind. A lot of that may be due to the lack of security professionals that are in the field. The reason we do need digital information with the digital age reduces the chances of medical errors, whether that be improper medication or, even just billing or anything like that. It also allows for faster treatment and because of the quick access to the medical records. As providers, payers, employees, patients, and even partners become increasingly intertwined through shared data, transparency, and analytics, the opportunities for loss, error, or theft grow exponentially. An example of that is Blue Cross Blue Shield. The Anthem data breach last year, information on nearly 80 million. Gain. Then there's also locker ransomware, which is blocking out anything, any kind of information they can't get in, they can't access anything at all until they get what they want. This is especially dangerous for hospitals with the need for quick access to their health records, electronic health records, because of somebody comes in on an ambulance and they need to access whatever it is from their doctor's office or whatever to know how to treat that patient. If they can't get in, they can do the minimal amount to maybe save a life, but they don't really know anything other than what's in front of them. Ransomware can be greatly reduced, like anti-malware, anti-spyware, antivirus on the computers for the facility. Ransomware is mainly used through phishing. So somebody's click on the link and then they're in, and so you need to kind of be aware of what you're doing, at your job. That's how a lot of the stuff, threats get into your systems, is the employees themselves just not necessarily being careless, but uninformed and unaware, not thinking about that kind of stuff. You can also backup systems for all of your information. If anything were to be infected or encrypted or locked out, you would still be able to go to the backup and access that information backwards, without having to deal with any kind of threat. Prevention, it's not simply enough to try and prevent data breaches, but to detect them in a timely manner and limit the risk, as much risk as possible. Less focus on keeping hackers out, but rather more focus on rendering the attacks harmless themselves. As you can see, this pie chart, in 2015, KPMG is a tax and advisory firm. They polled 223 chief information officers. Chief information officers are the executives that oversee the security of that facility. 39% of those 223 have no way of even being able to detect any kind of threat that may come to their information. 32% have been noticed at least one attack a day on their security system, their network security, and 29% of at least 2 a week. So there it is out there. The threat is alive and well. There's a cybersecurity act that was implemented by the Department of Health and Human Services to assess the healthcare industry's capability to respond to cyber attacks, and includes a task force to determine how information security tactics from other industries can be integrated into the healthcare sector. So basically, the last couple of years, Target was the victim of a financial threat where people lost or had their credit accounts hacked into and used against them, and among other things. And there was also Sony PlayStation. Their PlayStation Network also had a similar situation where a lot of their customers' information was stolen, pretty much. But with this act, it kind of we can use those to better prepare ourselves as far in the healthcare industry on how they reacted and how they treated it, to we can do our best to prevent that in the future. Along with that, HIPAA healthcare healthcare organizations are mandated to secure their electronic health records or face possible fines. So this forces the healthcare sector and all their facilities to do their best to protect protect the information of their patients and customers, as well as themselves. HIPAA is more, their regulations are more about privacy and not so much security. So when you go to a doctor's office, they are not talking about you behind your back. That's more where HIPAA comes in, not so much the network or digital age or any of that personal financial information. One way that you can prevent or at least combat the threats of hackers is bigger organizations can hire executives, CSOs, chief security officers. Those people in that position would have an expertise in network security as opposed to healthcare management. You've got enough executives that run a hospital that know about healthcare, but with the security they need to know how to prevent people from getting into the computer systems. Smaller organizations who may not have the need for millions of patients or anything like that, can outsource the job to private companies. With those bigger companies with the CSO, that if they already have somebody in place, what they could do is kind of build a rapport, build a relationship with the IT guys, the physicians, the assistants, the people that handle the information on a daily basis, and be able to teach them what to look for, whether it's those emails or whether anything that would throw up a red flag. You can kind of teach them and train them to what to look for to prevent any kind of unnecessary attacks or threats. With that, you're building a culture of security. It's not just about treating the patients, which is important, but you also need to make sure that their information is safe as well. Anybody and anybody can get that. Another way to combat or prevent with the increase of free wireless networks at doctors' offices just for the convenience of their patients while they're waiting. That also allows external and internal threats of people just coming in, connecting to your network, and then be able to get patient information. They don't even have to be in the office. A lot of them can just be outside in the parking lot. With that, the best thing that a facility can do is to devalue the data from an infiltration perspective by encrypting all databases and ensuring that there is a segmentation of the data. Basically, if you can encrypt the information that you store on your networks, if anybody were to get in, they wouldn't be able to get the entire information. Whether they might be able to get an address or part of a social security number, but they're not going to get a name. They're not going to get everything that they would need to make that threat, put that into fruition to attack somebody or use that against them. And also purge the information. You don't want to keep information around too long. If you throw it on the back burner, somebody that's been a patient 10 years ago and you still have that in your database or anything like that, that kind of stuff, that information is still at risk. It's not accessed recently or important because they're no longer there. Hackers, people can still get in and get that. So the best thing to do, or one thing you can do, is get rid of it. That saves them and you valuable space as well. In closing, I think that if you had any doubt about the security of your personal information, then you can be sure that the healthcare system is doing all that they can to protect not only you but themselves. Network security is an industry that is growing very quickly. It's just not up to par with the amount of information that is shared at this point. Hackers, those kind of people are always going to be out there. You're not going to be able to prevent everything 100%, but if it comes down to each individual employee doing their part, along with the network security team, at this facility or whatever, everybody working together can prevent it the best that they can. Thank you. That's it. I guess now I'm supposed to have a Q&A. If you have anybody have any questions, I'll answer them the best that I can. No.
Everybody's okay. Okay. Come on, Michael, you said you had all the questions.
Well, if not, then I guess this show will kind of open a critique session so you guys can talk about it.
What did the speaker do well? Like organization, delivery, use of audio, visual aids, etc. What did he do well? Anybody?
I liked the visual aid. That was put together very well. That was good.
Anybody else?
I think you made it important, the subject important to me, because security could be a very boring topic. When you start talking about my information, then it personalizes it. So it made it valuable to me.
You're good? Okay. What does the speaker need to improve on?
I think that he should probably work on his confidence when giving the speech. He used a lot of fillers, mostly. And he needs to have more confidence when speaking because he knows what he's talking about. He just questions it.
Anybody else? That's all I have.
I agree with Kaylin. The idea that I think when you know your topic, and you certainly do know this topic more than we do, to be able to really get in there and say, okay, this is what's kind of out of the heart, this isn't what's on paper. He's just really throwing it at us and giving us the tools and knowledge. And I think it comes back to the confidence. I think it does.
Just memorize your speech.
Alright, so questions and answers?